The Symbian Foundation has unveiled Symbian 3, the OS and user interface that will be included in Symbian-powered smartphones in the second half of 2010. Highlights include multiple home screens, 3D cover flow for music albums, direct manipulation UI everywhere, multi-touch and visual multitasking. Staying with operating systems, Microsoft has announced Windows Phone 7 series, a beast of a name, over a pretty neat interface for the 2011 consumer. Yes, it'll take that long to finish and get into devices, apparently. The UI is based around 6 hubs: People, Pictures, Games, Music, Marketplace and Office. Will Microsoft succeed where Palm failed in terms of a ground-up, compatibility-breaking reinvention? Time will tell. Kicking off a clutch of hardware launches is the Samsung Wave running their new Bardar system. The hardware's nice, made from a single piece of aluminium with a 3.3-inch Super AMOLED 800 by 480 display plus a 1 GHz processor, and should be available in April 2010. Sony Ericsson put out what it called its Fab 5, of which I'd note the Vivaz Pro, a slightly modified version of the Vivaz with a QWERTY keyboard. Other specs remain the same: 3.2-inch resistive touchscreen, vanilla S60 5th edition with Sony Ericsson panelled home screen and media browser player, the same as the Satio. It's expected before the summer, along with the X10 Mini and X10 Mini Pro, miniature variants of its much anticipated Android flagship, both of which have 600 MHz processors and 2.5-inch quarter VGA screens. Small, huh? Sony Ericsson are emphasising with these simultaneous launches of smartphones on 3 different OS platforms that they're aiming their user experience to be, quote, OS agnostic, a similar strategy to Samsung's. Toshiba has announced the rather impressive K01 sporting a full slide-out QWERTY keyboard and a 4.1-inch OLED capacitive screen. Is this the largest OLED yet? Running Windows Mobile 6.5 with a 1 GHz processor, at least Toshiba have had the sense to drop their own front end and license SPB's excellent mobile shell. Then there's the HTC Legend, a revamp of the Hero, with a new aluminium frame and Android 2.1 running the show. Looks like a super high-spec Android phone in a small form factor. Plus the Desire, their own take on the 3.7-inch OLED screen Nexus 1, which HTC also make. If you don't like Google's vanilla front end and want the Sense UI from the Hero, then this is the one to look at. Amidst all the questions about which phone should I buy, the in some ways better question of which software platform would suit me best rarely gets a look in, which is why I've put together my summary of the 5 main smartphone operating systems. The newest smartphone operating system on the block, Google's Android, is part proprietary, part open, but is licensed for free to any phone manufacturer. Custom built around a touch interface iPhone style, it supports full multitasking and has a variety of modern features like home screen widgets, Facebook integration, and other social networking features. Central to Android's operation is your use of a free Google account, making setup trivial, pulling down your Gmail, contacts, calendar, and Maps favorites, for example. The Android market includes thousands of free and commercial apps that take only seconds to download and install. It's very easy. The OS checks for updates for both Android and third-party apps regularly and notifies you. The Android world is currently rather fragmented. At one end, the devices shipping, quote, with Google. These inherit the latest Android updates directly from Google and have the full range of Google apps. At the other end are custom Android firmwares built in just the parts of the OS that are fully open, often with proprietary interfaces layered on top. The most common versions you'll see are 2.1 on the Nexus 1 at the moment, 1.6 with Sense UI on the HTC Hero at the moment, and there's 1.5 on some lesser manufacturers' devices. Originally proprietary, Nokia bought out Symbian 2 years ago and immediately donated the operating system to the world to use as an open OS, although we've yet to see phones built on the full open OS announced. I showed a demo of Symbian 3 at the start of the show. The Symbian world used to span 3 different interfaces, but only S60, designed to make smartphones usable one-handed, has survived. Symbian is the undisputed smartphone market leader across the world by volume, partly through high sales of keypad-driven phones like the Nokia N95. In the last year or so, the touchscreen-friendly version of S60 5th edition has debuted, bringing the OS to phones with larger screens. Symbian's strengths have always been in multitasking and efficient use of mobile processors, and coupled with the cheaper single-chip designs made possible, Symbian-powered phones do seem set to continue to succeed, especially in the mid-tier, down below £100 even, SIM-free. Each Symbian partner has its own application store, though so far only Nokia's Ovi store has taken off. Designed from the ground up for use with capacitive touchscreens and Apple's proprietary hardware, the iPhone OS still provides a premium user experience. with limited use of complex dialogues and with an emphasis on interacting with on-screen elements directly. Third-party apps were added in 2008, and the iPhone App Store has, of course, been a runaway success and a model for the rest of the industry. Content and applications are managed through the desktop-hosted iTunes, though the iPhone can still be used intensively while mobile for most people because it tends to come with an unlimited data plan. Very important. The main limitation is that there's no multitasking for third-party apps, so background media, background messaging, and so on. Windows Mobile has its roots in standalone stylus-driven PDAs. Although this focus on touchscreens should have been a benefit, it took over 5 years for Microsoft to gradually rid its OS of legacy code, and it's only in 2010 that it's fully supporting capacitive touchscreens and finger input. The delays have caused many Windows Mobile licensees to come up with their own alternative interfaces, though these are often little more than fancy front ends, hiding the underlying Windows Mobile applications and dialogues from the casual user. The biggest strength of the OS is its heritage, with a huge library of vertical applications and uses, many of which still work on current devices, though Microsoft has now announced Windows Phone 7 series, as you saw in the news, which is supposed to be incompatible with previous software, rather negating this strength. Almost as old as Symbian and Windows Mobile, RIM's BlackBerry OS has evolved from handling just pager messages to being a full smartphone operating system that can handle native apps. Almost exclusively designed around a thumb keyboarded QWERTY form factor, the BlackBerry OS excels at streamlined communications, emails, text, instant messaging both in and out. BlackBerry App World is downloadable for all recent RIM devices and provides an on-device app store similar to that for the other operating systems. It's important to notice, though, that, as you may have heard in Phone Show Chat, a BlackBerry is nothing without a BlackBerry Internet Service Plan, so factor this extra cost and perhaps inconvenience into any buying decisions.
Hello Steve, this is my user story. My name is Brian Penders. My current device of choice, iPhone 3GS. Had an original iPhone 3G on contract. Contract expired only a few months ago, but I bought this on pay-as-you-go when it came out. Absolutely brilliant, no problems with it. Main device. Would like multitasking and more options, but you can pretty much get around that. Devices I've used as well. HTC Hero, not so much. Android I still think is very early in its development, but it's going to get a lot better. Nokia N97 Mini, love this device. I had a Nokia N97 originally, changed it, couldn't cope with it in this low C drive. This one is everything the N97 should have been. But my main second device at the moment is an N900. Had it for about a week, so powerful, impressed with what it can do and the ability of what it's going to be able to do in the future. So looking forward to developments on that. But yeah, no, I'm quite lucky with all these phones, but I do sort of buy and sell them quite regularly. At the moment, the main two, iPhone 3GS, N900, best of both worlds.
Welcome everyone from the island of Bermuda. The first thing I'd like to show you is this. This was the first sort of reasonably smartphone I had. And you're all going to laugh, it's a little Nokia 2630, which doesn't really seem very smart at all, but for its time when I first bought it, it was fantastic. It was a very, very small, very slim, easily pocketable, had a great little interface, the screen was bright, not particularly smart, but it took little good pictures for its time, had a good audio jack out, so it was quite a good little device. This was my best phone that I've ever had. This was a Nokia 5800 Express Music, which I got I guess about a year ago now, maybe a little more than that. I don't know how long it's been. However, I'd love to be able to show you the 5800 that comes inside this box, but as you can all see right now, the box is empty. And in the recent hurricane, I took my 5800 out to go and take a few pictures of my boat that was being destroyed by the hurricane, and my fingers were wet and the side of the 5800 was also wet from the humidity. I managed to drop it into the ocean. That ocean out there, actually. This was in fact the best device that I have ever purchased. It was a fantastic phone. Just streaks ahead for everything that it could do. I liked the touch interface. I liked the music aspect of it. And I was really getting used to typing things out on the virtual keyboard that it has. So after I lost my 5800, my job decided that I actually did need a phone in order to communicate, sadly. And so they went off and they purchased a phone for me. And what they bought for me was this. This is a Nokia E71. You know, and it took a little bit for me to get used to the transition from the 5800 to the E71, but I have to say that all things considered, this Nokia E71 is quite a really good device. Once you get used to the QWERTY keypad at the bottom, really very quick to knock off a couple of emails and text messages, very, very speedy. Obviously not with the touch screen, but I kind of got used to that. I do miss the touch aspect of the Nokia 5800, I have to say. But all round, this is a great device. Very well made, very slim, very pocketable, not too heavy. Great little grip texture on the back here with the little micro dots on the back. The audio jack on the side is the 2.5mm jack, which is completely useless. I have given up trying to listen to music on this device. I was so used to the 5800 with the great headphone jack there that was standard. This one, useless, can't use it, forget it. I've also given up trying to take pictures with the E71 as well. Really not the same as the 5800. However, for work, this is a really great phone. For doing emails, for knocking out text messages, for connecting to various services, really very good. Very sturdy device. I haven't managed to break it yet. Thanks from Bermuda. Keep watching the phone show.